NBC's Julie Surkin is joining us now from Capitol Hill, and also with us, Jeff Mason, White House correspondent for Reuters. Julie, what's the lay of the land there today? Is Hegseth winning over skeptics?
Well, not yet he isn't, and that is why he's continuing to meet. Let's face it, this is really a gender divide that is emerging among Senate Republicans. He's continuing to try and make his case specifically to those Senate Republican women. Again, not all of them, of course, this group is not a monolith, but those really seem to be the Senate Republicans that care the most about those sexual misconduct and assault allegations that Hegseth and his lawyer had repeatedly denied. These are the Senate Republicans who are perhaps being a little bit more outspoken in their consternation, saying publicly that perhaps they need more information from Hegseth before they actually commit to backing him. You mentioned his meeting with Senator Lisa Murkowski yesterday. Having covered her for years, I can tell you that this is somebody who does not say something unless they feel like what they're saying is what they truly believe and how they will act moving forward. It is telling that, pressed repeatedly by my colleagues here on Capitol Hill, all she said was that it was a good meeting with Mr. Hegseth. In about a couple minutes from now, about 20 minutes from now, he is set to meet with Susan Collins of Maine. She is somebody who is very close to Lisa Murkowski. The two have broken before, but often they kind of go in the grain together. They often cast similar votes. They sit next to each other in the Senate chamber floor. And so this is going to be really telling. Collins is somebody who is telling reporters up here, telling local reporters in Maine, that she does find the sexual misconduct and assault allegations very troubling. Also, of course, his potential drinking, his alcoholism. So all of this is just still the very beginning of the process for Hegseth. I think he got just about how much he's going to get from President-elect Trump in terms of an endorsement telling him to keep going. The rest of the work really is cut out for Hegseth and Hegseth alone.
Julie, thank you. So, Jeff, let's talk a little bit about the pressure campaign we're seeing from Trump and some of his allies to try to get these Republican senators to come on board. Just take Joni Ernst, for example, when she had come out and expressed maybe some hesitation about Hegseth. You saw Donald Trump Jr. go after her, saying maybe you're in the wrong political party. Also, a popular Iowa conservative talk show host said he was ready to challenge her in 2026 in the primary. Iowa's own attorney general came out with an op-ed, also with a not so subtle message to try to urge Ernst to support Trump's picks. Now, it's important to note it's been over 10 years since an incumbent elected senator has lost a primary, but could these threats be effective, this pressure campaign?
Well, it's certainly a sign, I think, A, of how much they do want Hegseth on the Trump side, the fact that they're willing to unleash that, and two, they're unleashing it, to use that verb again. And I think that's also a sign for senators like Joni Ernst and others about what awaits them if they defy Trump. And I think that'll be a test, not only for this particular nomination moment, but also for how they deal with the president when he's in office again.
It's not just Hegseth also facing some heat on the Hill, but let's take a look at Director of National Intelligence pick Tulsi Gabbard, who's also in meetings right now with senators. Reporters asked her just yesterday whether she views Russia as a U.S. adversary. They also asked her about her meetings, her conversations, her visit to Syria to meet with Assad, and she stonewalled. Here it is.
Do you believe Russia is a primary adversary? Has your trip to Syria come up at all in your meetings?
How important is it for her to answer those questions?
Well, I think that certainly there's only one answer that most senators in the U.S. Senate will be looking for. And if they ask her that and she stonewalls then that'll be even more significant. Not speaking to reporters in the hallway is upsetting to us as reporters, but maybe not as big of a deal.
But it also seems like it should be an easy question to answer.
100%. It should be an easy question to answer. And I would also add to that the fact that the developments in Syria are happening this week puts that even more in a spotlight. The fact that she has had this history of having gone to Syria before and having met with Assad, who is now, of course, no longer the leader.
Donald Trump is still making announcements of people he wants to serve in his next administration, including just yesterday announcing Kimberly Guilfoyle, Don Jr.'s fiance, as his pick to be ambassador to Greece. What kind of experience does she have for this role?
She has experience fundraising for Donald Trump and being close to him, and that's apparently the criteria that was most important to him.
And don't forget, also former Fox News contributor.
Exactly. There's a theme here. I mean, you've got a former Fox anchor in line to become the next defense secretary. The president-elect is absolutely rewarding people who have been his supporters in his family circle, in the TV circle that is an important universe to him, and among donors and others.
Jeff Mason, good to see you. Thank you very much for
pleasure.
coming on.